London, 23 October. In a closed-door session at Buckingham Palace this weekend, senior royals and crown jewelers convened under tight discretion to discuss a singular glittering matter, a rare, uncut Mozambican ruby, a diplomatic gift from Her Majesty Sheikha Moza of Qatar, has officially been released for transformation into ceremonial regalia. According to palace aides, the stone, deep crimson and nearly flawless, will serve as the centerpiece of a new royal commission. But what stole the room's breath was not the stone itself, but the proposal it inspired. It's time Catherine has a crown of her own, Princess Anne is said to have declared firmly, her voice steady and reverent. Those present described the room's reaction as a collective pause, a moment of historical shift being quietly etched into memory. The woman once called Weighty Katie, now a global stateswoman, a mother of heirs, and a bearer of the crown's daily weight, would finally be honored with a tiara, not borrowed, not inherited, but born of her own legacy. And so began what insiders now call the meeting that changed everything. For over a decade, Catherine, Princess of Wales, has carried the monarchy not in name, but in spirit. And yet, unlike her late mother-in-law Diana, or even Queen Camilla, she has never possessed a crown uniquely her own. She wore the Cartier Halo tiara, loaned from the late Queen Elizabeth II, at her 2011 wedding. She's since alternated between the Lover's Knot tiara and the Lotus Flower tiara, all storied pieces, but none forged for her, none bearing her imprint. But no one, it seems, has embodied the modern monarchy more faithfully. She stood steady beside William through the turbulence of transition. She weathered the relentless scrutiny of the press. She championed causes from early childhood development to mental health awareness, all while raising 3 children who have become living symbols of royal continuity. At diplomatic summits, she is praised for her poise. In hospitals, for her listening ear. In classrooms, for her ease with children. Catherine has become, without declaration or fanfare, the people's consort. So when Princess Anne placed her gloved hand on the table and proposed a crown for Catherine, it wasn't a question of entitlement. It was a matter of justice. The meeting at Buckingham was not ceremonial. It was strategic. At its center, Princess Anne. Respected, unyielding, and fiercely loyal to duty, Anne has long been known as the monarchy's anchor. According to sources present, the discussion began as a routine review of ceremonial regalia, upcoming state functions, gemstone allocations, and long-term planning for public events. The uncut ruby, set aside for special consideration, became the point of pivot. It was Anne who made the connection, one senior palace aide confirmed. She looked at the ruby and said, "We've been saving this for someone worthy. We have her." And everyone knew she meant Catherine. The proposal, a new crown, commissioned from Gerard & Company, the same jewelers behind Queen Mary's bandeau and other historical masterpieces, featuring the Mozambican ruby at its heart. The crown would not replace Camilla's, but stand as Catherine's own emblem of stewardship. Behind the regal glamour lies a quiet revolution. In recent weeks, King Charles has increasingly retreated from public view, following medical advice for rest. His duties, both ceremonial and constitutional, have been handed over to William and Catherine, a de facto regency in everything but name. But the official transfer of regalia, especially the seal of the sovereign and the books of state, remains a sticking point blocked not by the king, but by Queen Camilla. Sources close to Clarence House report that Camilla has resisted calls to pass the queen consort's insignia, including traditional regalia such as the queen's scepter and certain ceremonial titles. Her rationale, reportedly, is constitutional. There has been no coronation, no abdication. But insiders suggest it's also personal. She considers herself still in reign, one aide confided. She doesn't want Catherine to be seen as queen yet. But to the public and much of the palace, that ship has sailed. In the absence of formal succession, Princess Anne has taken it upon herself to lead what many now call the stewardship transition. Her strategy is simple: bypass unnecessary spectacle and acknowledge reality. Behind the scenes, she has coordinated private meetings, liaised with council members, and pushed for institutional continuity. She's also rallied support from other senior royals, including the Duke of Kent and Princess Alexandra, to ensure that when the moment comes, the family speaks with one voice. And above all, she has become Catherine's advocate. Anne believes Catherine has not only earned the crown, she has redefined what it means, said one royal historian. This isn't about gold and gemstones, it's about recognition. The ruby in question is one of the rarest of its kind, gifted by the Qatari royal family during a state visit in 2022. Weighing approximately 28.3 carats, with a vivid red hue known as pigeon blood, it's a stone historically associated with courage, protection, and loyalty qualities long attributed to queens of virtue. The ruby's placement at the heart of the crown would be poetic, said Dr. Clara Winters, curator of royal jewelry at the V&A. It speaks not only to passion and strength, but to enduring resilience. It would become Catherine's sapphire of soul, her emerald of empathy, her ruby of resolve. The design proposal submitted by Gerard & Co. includes a platinum lattice base, echoing the silhouette of Queen Mary's 1911 crown, sapphire accents from Queen Alexandra's dismantled necklace as a nod to royal lineage, a removable coronet version, lighter and suitable for social or community-facing engagements, floral motifs of the Tudor rose, Scottish thistle, and Welsh daffodil representing unity across the kingdom. The estimated cost of the crown, once completed, is said to surpass £4.2 million, making it one of the most valuable pieces commissioned in modern royal history. But as one aide reportedly said, "It's not about the value, it's about the vow." The proposal awaits final approval from two individuals. King Charles, who has already consented in principle, must sign the declaration authorizing ceremonial regalia reassignment, and Queen Camilla, who holds custodianship of the Queen Consort's regalia under the 2005 Council Statute, must either voluntarily release her claim or risk a symbolic rupture within the royal household. Either way, the ruby crown's design has been greenlit. Gerard & Co. have begun preliminary sketches, and Princess Anne has reportedly requested a presentation date before the end of the year. The winds at Sandringham have always whispered history, but on this crisp October morning, they carried something else: resolution. Inside the private drawing room of the Norfolk estate, Princess Anne sat across from her brother, King Charles III, not as the dutiful sister, but as the monarchy's strategist-in-chief. According to a palace aide, Anne brought no paperwork, no speech, only a single velvet box containing a mock-up of the proposed Catherine crown, and a message: "The realm is ready. The crown must respond." The meeting lasted just under 45 minutes. No official record was taken, but sources confirmed the conversation was direct and emotional. Charles, pale and visibly fatigued, listened in full. Anne reminded him of Catherine's unwavering service, of the quiet dignity with which she had carried the royal weight these past 2 years. She spoke not of abdication, but of adaptive continuity, a phrase that has now become the monarchy's internal motto. At the heart of the discussion was a simple ask: the king's signature on the ceremonial reassignment order, granting William and Catherine full regalia privileges and allowing the commissioning of Catherine's own crown under state protocol. Charles, reportedly, did not object. "He knows where this is heading," said one insider. "He just wants it to happen gently." But if the king gave quiet consent, Queen Camilla gave quiet resistance. Still residing primarily at Raymil House in Wiltshire, Camilla has kept a measured distance from both the palace and its growing momentum toward renewal. Her schedule, once brimming with diplomatic engagements, has emptied. Her name, once a fixture on ceremonial rosters, has been replaced by Catherine's. Publicly, she remains gracious. Privately, sources say she is deeply unsettled. She believes the title of queen can't be passed in spirit, one senior aide revealed, only through the crown and church. And so far, she has refused to release the queen consort's ceremonial regalia, especially the Book of State Blessings, traditionally handed to a future queen during times of transition. To do so, aides say, would be to concede that her era is ending. Still, the palace is moving forward with or without Camilla's blessing. Princess Anne has secured private backing from nearly all senior royals, including the Duke of Gloucester and Princess Alexandra. Even traditionally, neutral figures like the Lord Chamberlain have acknowledged that Catherine's elevation is no longer a question of when, but how. As one court historian put it, the monarchy is shifting from ceremony to sentiment, and sentiment belongs to Catherine. The ruby has been chosen. The design is in motion. The people are watching. And Anne, once called the Spares General, is now steering the crown's quiet revolution, one ruby, one signature, one coronet at a time. As the early autumn fog lifted from the courtyards of Buckingham Palace, something clearer than weather began to emerge. A royal consensus, painstakingly crafted by Princess Anne, now moving into open daylight. The transition that began as whispers inside corridors and private chapels has become undeniable. Behind closed doors, among stewards of the crown and cousins with ceremonial roles, a single name now commands unanimous admiration: Catherine. What began as a proposal about a ruby has become a movement, subtle but unstoppable, and at its helm stands the Princess Royal, steady, unsentimental, and resolute. While the king rests, while Camilla withholds, Anne builds. She's the only one who never chased a crown, Anne reportedly said in a recent private lunch with the Duke of Gloucester, and that's exactly why she deserves one. It is a sentiment echoing across the royal household. Catherine's entire royal journey has been defined by service, not spectacle. For years, she wore borrowed jewels and inherited expectations. Yet in state visits, youth forums, and solemn ceremonies, she emerged not just polished, but powerful. She spearheaded the Royal Foundation's mental health initiative, working directly with frontline responders and educators. She founded the Center for Early Childhood, establishing long-term frameworks to support development policy across the UK. She led delegations abroad with a poise that diplomatic envoys now openly praise as statesmanlike. And all the while, she has been a mother not just to heirs, but to a generation of Britons who see in her the very values the monarchy has long claimed: duty, humility, and continuity. And yet, for all her service, Catherine remains a queen in every sense except the literal one. She has never had a coronation, never received her own crown, never stood beneath the abbey arches with an anointing oil of her own. It is this absence that has begun to strike not just royal watchers, but foreign observers, as discordant. She is doing the job of a queen consort, wrote Marie Duval, royal correspondent for Le Figaro, without the title, without the regalia, and without the recognition. This is either a failure of process or a resistance of ego. That ego, of course, belongs to Camilla, whose reluctance to release ceremonial instruments, particularly the Queen's Book of State blessings and signet rings, has stalled the official transition. But Anne, ever the tactician, has moved the battlefield away from protocol and into symbolism, where public sentiment carries the crown long before the gold ever touches a brow. Rather than confront Camilla directly, Princess Anne has done something far more powerful: built a coalition of silence and consent. In just under 3 weeks, she has met individually with Prince Edward, who has offered the use of his ceremonial chambers at St. James's for regalia design review; Princess Alexandra, who signed a private letter of support urging formal recognition of Catherine's role; the Duchess of Edinburgh, who reportedly told Anne, "She's earned every gem on that crown, whether it's placed on her head or not." Even beyond the bloodline, Anne has begun liaising with the Church of England, seeking quiet counsel on a potential blessing ceremony for Catherine. Not a coronation, but a consecration of stewardship. The Queen Mother was once honored in a similar way in 1938, notes historian Dr. Emily Thorndale. Anne is resurrecting tradition, not rewriting it. Outside the palace walls, media coverage has shifted decisively. Once preoccupied with Harry and Meghan's transatlantic dramatics, the British press has rediscovered its heartland, Windsor, not Montecito. Front pages now feature Catherine in state engagements, once reserved for reigning consorts, receiving ambassadors, speaking at international health summits, opening exhibitions, once hosted by Queen Elizabeth II herself. The power has moved without proclamation, noted the Times, and the people are already bowing. Polls confirm the pivot. 83% of Britons now view Catherine as the acting queen consort, regardless of official titles. A further 68% believe she should receive a crown of her own. And perhaps most tellingly, over 40% of respondents under 35 say Catherine has made the monarchy feel relevant again. These numbers, aides say, are not lost on the palace. Behind velvet ropes and gilded crests, Anne's voice has become a drumbeat. Her most recent words, shared in a private meeting with palace secretaries, are already circulating through royal corridors. "You don't wait for history to write itself. You lift the pen when no one else will." And with each discreet endorsement, each quiet nod from dukes and duchesses, Anne has begun to do just that: lift the pen and begin scripting the next era. The ruby is no longer just a stone. The crown is no longer just a rumor. And Catherine is no longer just the Princess of Wales. She is the Queen in motion. Hidden behind a nondescript black door on Albemarle Street, in London's historic Mayfair district, the atelier of Gerard & Co. hums with a quiet reverence. Inside, the soft clinking of tools on platinum, the murmured discussions in French and English, and the ever-present aroma of wax and velvet fill the air. This is where monarchies are immortalized in metal and stone. And here, in utmost secrecy, a team of 5 master craftsmen and 3 historians are working under exclusive royal commission on what insiders now call the crown of renewal. But this isn't just about diamonds or design. This is about Catherine. The brief was clear, says one senior designer involved in the project. It must not replicate. It must represent. This crown, unlike the heavy, imperial styles of past eras, will embody a new kind of power. Understated, intentional, and radiant with meaning. The client is not a reigning monarch, but she is, arguably, the emotional center of the crown. The design proposal approved by Princess Anne, and tentatively blessed by King Charles, includes the following key elements. Structure: crafted from ethically sourced platinum for its strength and weightlessness, ensuring comfort during extended wear. Centerpiece: a 28.3-carat uncut Mozambican ruby, gifted by the Queen of Qatar, will sit at the heart of the crown, symbolizing devotion and resilience. Accents: 12 Cornish diamonds, repurposed from a dismantled brooch belonging to Queen Alexandra, arranged in clusters of 3 to signify past, present, and future. Floral motifs: the Tudor rose of England, the thistle of Scotland, the daffodil of Wales, the shamrock of Northern Ireland, and, by Anne's request, a newly introduced element, the forget-me-not, representing children, mothers, and remembrance. Coronet functionality: the upper arches are removable, allowing the piece to transform into a lighter coronet-style tiara for community-facing appearances. Hidden inscription: inside the base, in tiny platinum engraving, "To serve is to reign, ACW." Anne's initials, William's initials, and Catherine's in the center. The estimated value: £4.2 to £5 million, depending on the final ruby setting. If confirmed, it will become the third most valuable crown in royal British history, behind only the Imperial State Crown and Queen Elizabeth's crown. But its value isn't financial, it's a narrative. At Gerard & Co., symbolism is stitched into every thread of gold. Their work has adorned monarchs from George IV to Elizabeth II. But even among these titans of history, this commission is different. "This is not a coronation crown," says Alistair Gerard, 7th generation of the family firm. "This is a covenant crown. It is not about ruling, it is about carrying." The ruby, left deliberately uncut, will be polished, but not faceted, retaining its natural formation to reflect authenticity over perfection. Its placement, surrounded by smaller white sapphires and pearls, will appear as if floating on a bed of light. The crown's internal cushion, traditionally made of deep velvet, will be lined with ivory silk woven in Yorkshire, subtly embroidered with the names of Catherine's children, George, Charlotte, and Louis. "It's her identity woven into the monarchy," says palace historian Dr. Clara Winters. "Not just her title, her truth." Perhaps most notably, this crown does not replace the queen consort's regalia. It circumvents it. Palace protocol dictates that only one woman may wear the queen's crown at a time. Since Camilla has not relinquished her regalia nor allowed for their ceremonial duplication, Princess Anne and Gerard & Co. crafted a solution that is both respectful and revolutionary. This crown will be considered personal property, though stored in the royal collection under joint guardianship by Princess Anne and the Lord Chamberlain. It may not be used in coronations unless formally decreed, but it may be worn during blessings, state banquets, and Commonwealth ceremonies where the presence of a queen in function is necessary. In doing so, Anne has effectively bypassed Camilla's resistance, creating a new category of recognition: Queen in Trust. Word of the commission, while still unofficial, has spread. Vogue, Tatler, and Vanity Fair have all hinted at a historic royal accessory in the making. In Paris, the jewelry house Chaumet issued a public statement applauding the quiet elegance of the design. And in Japan, Crown Princess Kiko is said to have privately sent a handwritten note of congratulations to Catherine. More than fashion, the conversation has become one of identity. The Queen Consort once earned public love through scandal and survival, writes columnist Margot Green. But Catherine is writing her chapter in service and silence. Her crown will not glitter, it will glow. Even the public has chimed in. A viral hashtag, #CrownHerCatherine, has surged on social media, with supporters creating digital renderings of what the finished piece might look like, many featuring blue accents, referencing the sapphire ring once worn by Diana, now worn by Catherine. One of the most shared images? A mock-up of Catherine in the new crown, surrounded by children, with the phrase, "Grace wears platinum," inside Gerard Co. The final wax model is nearing completion. Within weeks, platinum will be poured, stones selected, and the crown will move from dream to reality. There will be no trumpets, no balcony wave, no televised coronation. But somewhere, in a quiet vault below the Tower of London, the crown of renewal will rest until the day Catherine is called to wear it, not by decree, but by duty. And when she does, it will not be the stones that matter, it will be the story they tell. It will not be televised. There will be no trumpet fanfare, no crimson-carpeted abbey. And yet, what is being quietly prepared for the final Sunday of October at St. George's Chapel in Windsor may well become the most consequential royal ceremony since the coronation of Charles III. Sources confirm that the palace is finalizing arrangements for a private but deeply symbolic blessing of stewardship, a sacred rite devised and championed by Princess Anne in coordination with the Archbishop of Canterbury. The purpose is not coronation but confirmation. Catherine, Princess of Wales, will be publicly blessed in the eyes of the Church and the royal family as guardian of the Crown's trust, officially receiving ceremonial status to represent the monarchy in all public and diplomatic matters. The Archbishop, it is understood, will use the same golden staff that anointed Charles 2 years ago. The text of the prayer is being adapted from the 1937 Blessing of the Queen Mother, altered to reflect Catherine's unique path, not born royal, not married to a reigning monarch, but now carrying the weight of legacy nonetheless. The decision to proceed with the blessing has been met with overwhelming support across the royal household. Most notable among its champions, Princess Alexandra, the Duke of Kent, and even Edward, the Duke of Edinburgh, all of whom have quietly confirmed attendance. "The people already blessed her," said one courtier. "This is simply the Church catching up. It will not be called a coronation, because Camilla still wears the title Queen Consort. It will not be framed as succession, because King Charles remains on the throne. And yet, for all practical and public-facing purposes, this moment will serve as the formal investiture of Catherine as de facto queen in duty. According to insiders, she will wear the new platinum coronet from Gerard & Co., not the full crown, but the ceremonial version intended for more modest state engagements. The ceremony will be private, but meaningful. Confirmed guests include Princess Anne, who will deliver the familial vow on behalf of the House of Windsor, the Archbishop of Canterbury, officiating, King Charles, health permitting, expected to attend in silence, as a symbol of passive consent, foreign representatives from Canada, Australia, and New Zealand, Commonwealth observers, select members of Parliament, by special invitation, and, notably, no official confirmation of Camilla's attendance. One palace source described the decision as delicately unresolved. "She knows what this means," the source added, "and she's not ready to stand in the pews while someone else receives the blessings she once fought so hard for." While Catherine quietly prepares, Camilla has gone on the defensive. In a meeting at Clarence House last week, she reportedly summoned several longtime aides and members of her communications team. One insider revealed that the Queen Consort objected strongly to the idea of the blessing being interpreted as a replacement of her own role. She has allegedly requested that the ceremony does not include the phrase "Queen in stewardship." The coronet is referred to as a symbol of duty, not of queenship. All references to succession are stripped from the program. The requests were forwarded to Lambeth Palace and are under review, but it is Princess Anne's camp, not Camilla's, that currently holds the moral and institutional weight, and the mood among the staffers is shifting. "She's not being cast aside," one staff member said. "She's being acknowledged for a reign that was never truly connected. But Catherine resonates." Amid the swirl of emotion, preparation, and protocol, Catherine remains publicly composed. In the days leading to the blessing, she's scheduled to visit 2 children's hospitals, one in Manchester, one in London, attend a closed-door Commonwealth Youth Forum with Prince William, meet with Queen Rania of Jordan, marking a diplomatic first. Privately, she's being coached by Lady Susan Hussey, one of Queen Elizabeth II's most trusted former ladies-in-waiting, who has reportedly told aides, "Catherine won't walk in like a queen. She'll walk in like the woman who carried this monarchy when no one else did." Her children, George, Charlotte, and Louis, will attend the blessing, but will remain seated quietly in the choir stalls. Prince George, now 11, has been practicing how to offer a short bow during the hymn that follows the blessing, symbolizing the next generation's acceptance of their mother's role. As rehearsals began within the candlelit aisles of St. George's Chapel, one insider reported a moment that no one present will forget. Princess Anne stood beneath the carved rafters and said to the attending clerics and stewards, "We are not crowning a queen. We are honoring a steward. But know this, when the moment comes, and it will come, the people will not ask who wore the crown. They will remember who carried it." And then, almost as an afterthought, she looked toward Catherine and added, "And you've carried it longer than anyone ever dared admit." Outside Windsor, barricades are already being prepared for the quiet arrival of dignitaries. Inside the palace, an air of anticipation not felt since the Platinum Jubilee has returned. But this time, there will be no balcony moment, no orb, no scepter, only a blessing, only a bow, only the woman who, for over a decade, has held a family together, a monarchy aloft, and a nation's affection without ever demanding any of it. Catherine will not become queen this Sunday, but she will become something even more powerful, the soul of the crown, in full view of history. The morning after the blessing of stewardship at St. George's Chapel dawned clear and windless. The air over Windsor Castle held an almost sacred stillness, as if the walls themselves understood the significance of what had taken place. There had been no balcony wave, no gold-carved carriage. And yet, by Sunday night, front pages across the Commonwealth carried the same image. Catherine, standing at the foot of the chapel steps, her children at her side, and the platinum coronet glinting gently in the October Sunday. It was a moment of quiet transformation, and everyone watching understood it. The crown had moved, not by law, but by love. As Catherine stepped into her new era, Camilla stepped further into the background. Palace aides confirmed she had chosen not to attend the ceremony, citing health and emotional fatigue. Instead, she reportedly spent the weekend at Realness House, where close friends say she followed the news in silence. A single photo released by Clarence House the following day showed Camilla seated alone in the Realness garden, dressed in gray, reading from a small leather-bound volume titled Reflections on Sovereignty. It was a graceful image, but to many, it symbolized her retreat from active queenship. "She may keep the title," said one royal historian, "but the relevance has shifted." Sland. Within days, several of her remaining public engagements were quietly reassigned to the Princess of Wales, including her patronage of the National Literacy Campaign and her honorary post with the Royal School of Needlework. Within Buckingham and Kensington, the change was immediate but not disruptive. Internal memos began referring to the stewardship era, a term coined by Princess Anne herself. Protocol officers received updates. Official documentation, speeches, and international communiques now named William and Catherine as acting sovereign representatives. Even more telling, invitations to a spring 2026 state visit from Japan were addressed not to Their Majesties the King and Queen, but to the Prince and Princess of Wales, stewards of the crown. And in a particularly symbolic gesture, King Charles signed a formal letter authorizing the inclusion of Catherine's new coronet in the royal collection, designating it as an emblem of trust commissioned by service. It was the first written recognition of her regalia since the meeting at Sandringham weeks earlier. Among the public, the shift felt natural, almost overdue. Florists in Windsor reported record orders of white lilies and blue forget-me-nots, the flowers associated with Catherine's wedding and her new crown. Social media flooded with messages like, "She carried the monarchy when others carried scandal. She never asked to rule, so the people gave it to her." Across age groups, Catherine's approval rating soared to an all-time high of 89%, according to a Snap poll from YouGov. Among voters under 30, a demographic once thought disengaged from royal affairs, over 60%, said the blessing made them feel hopeful or proud of the monarchy's direction. In a quietly released video, recorded at Windsor hours after the ceremony, Catherine simply said, "My role is not to replace, but to renew. The crown is not mine. It belongs to the people, and I hold it only because they let me." The video was viewed 14 million times in 48 hours. What began as a ruby in a velvet box, what Anne envisioned, what Charles approved, and what Camilla resisted has become reality. Catherine now stands not as Princess of Wales, but as something entirely new. She has no scepter, no orb, no throne, but she has something more enduring: the people's consent, the family's loyalty, and the crown's trust. Her reign may never be named in the books of law, but it has already been written in the heart of a nation. And in the history of monarchies, that is the only coronation that truly matters. As twilight fell over Sandringham 2 nights after the blessing, King Charles was seen walking slowly through the West Garden, escorted gently by a footman. When asked by a passing staffer how he felt about the recent events, he simply replied, "The crown is heavier now, but it rests in good hands." And with that, the chapter closed not on the old king, nor the retreating queen, but on the moment Catherine became sovereign in soul. No trumpets, no decree, only grace.